Hello, and welcome to Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Ron, and today we're going to do a box opening, if I can call it that, of Through Ice and Snow by Two Tomatoes. So, let's get started. I haven't done any reviews or any content at all regarding board game. There are a handful of games that I come back to board gaming wise, maybe 4 or 5. But this is one that really intrigued me when I saw the Kickstarter. It is Through Ice and Snow by Two Tomatoes, a Spanish company. And part of what drew me to it originally was the concept of what the game's about. This is about the 19th century search and expedition for a Northwest Passage. My interest in nautical history caused me to look a little into that. My fondness for Stan Rogers and the first song of his I think I ever really came to know, which was The Northwest Passage, has led me towards an interest in this period. And the art and the ideas behind this game seemed really intriguing to me. So I thought I would go ahead and invest in it. That was, I think, about a year ago, and now it's got here last week. I've been trying to get a video up together of this. I apologize for delays. I'm a little behind schedule. It's been hard to keep up anyway lately because of how busy I've become. I've also am recovering from COVID as we speak. So I'll do the best I can to take us through this pseudo box opening. As you can see, I've already unpacked it. Truth is, I've actually looked inside the thing. But what we're going to do right now is go through and look at some of the absolutely beautiful components that make up this box set. Or just the box itself. I don't know if you can see this here. I'm using different lighting or a different light and a different side than I normally would do from this based on a review I got earlier. So hopefully this is an improvement. This is the box itself with this sad, despairing gray artwork all over it. You're going to find that that's kind of a theme. This is, by the way, as it says here, Through Ice and Snow, the big box. It's called that because it comes with expansions already included as part of the Kickstarter. So what I'm going to do is go through and talk about what some of these components are. I may get some of it wrong because I've been reading the rules. It's a while since I've been seeing the videos on how to play it, and I've forgotten about a little of it, but I'll do the best I can to get us through this. Here's the rules itself, the basic rules. This is a substantial 24 pages and a simple stapled binding assembly. It has an introduction. In this game, you'll take on the role of an admiral of the 19th century Arctic expedition. The expedition is composed of several ships, and each player will be in charge of one of them. Your common goal is to traverse the Northwest Passage. During this voyage, you will seize the opportunity to increase your reputation, measured in prestige points, by exploring and charting new territories, by capturing and studying Arctic animals, and by building of shelters for future expeditions. Each player also has some objectives given to them by the investor who financed their expedition. Their completion will earn greater acclaim. Once the Northwest Passage has been traversed, the player with the most prestige points wins the game. However, during the expedition, you will come face to face with a multitude of hazards and setbacks, from snowstorms to damaged supplies. Thus, your will to accomplish great feats, to forge your place in history, will clash head-on with the need to maintain your crew's health and morale. The Arctic is an unforgiving and relentless environment. Expeditions are not prepared for its rigors. If you fail to manage your crews and your ships, your expeditions may become another victim, trapped in the frozen grip of the Arctic. In game terms, this means that despite being a competitive game, if certain conditions are met, the game may end suddenly in a defeat of all the players. That's one of the things I like about it right off the bat. This is designed, it says here, for 1 to 4 players. There is a solo version of the game available. It plays, they claim, between 45 and 90 minutes. I haven't found that those are always accurate. I have no idea if this one does. They say they rate it for 14-year-olds in player. There is a QR code here that says it links to a video. I tried doing that and it didn't. It linked to a page selling the rules. Maybe that'll be fixed, but it wasn't true by the time I got this. So it gives you a list of components that come with the game. I think that's always nice. It's a great way of making sure that you have all the pieces you need and sometimes defining or explaining to you what they are. It's really useful if you buy a used copy of a game from somebody to make sure that they didn't lie to you about what was in it. So it tells you how to do the setups, explains the different things in part. I've been reading through this, and the book, it looks more complicated in writing than it actually is. Yeah, and there's some of this is the scenarios too, like Lost Expedition single player scenarios. It gives you the different ideas. It tells you how to do what you do and how the game unfolds and plays. This game is, as I kind of alluded to earlier, it is a cooperative and competitive game. So you take turns acting as the admiral in charge of the expedition. Each player gets a chance to do that and decide where the expeditions are going. But you're the captain of your own ship with your own investors and with your own goals. So you win or lose your personal game by what you get in prestige and what you make or lose in your personal goals. You all lose if the expedition fails, however. And often you will need to rely on each other and your opponents to be able to complete the expedition. It's a difficult game. The environment, and therefore the game itself, is out to kill you. There's a reminder in the back of some of the historic figures, Ross, McClintock, Kellett, also a number of Inuit characters. And I'm not surprised by that, for this game was done very much in tandem with the Inuit nation. Now, this is a second rule book. That may seem redundant to some of you, but that's because this is the big box. This basically includes the game modules Walking on Ice, Inuit myths, legendary expeditions, and single-player scenarios, The Mysterious Epidemic, and The Voyage of Amundsen. These are extensions and explanations of the new rules and the new things that come in the board and the game that fit for this expansion. Easily to put aside until later use. It also includes Franklin, McClure, and Perry, and 3 more Inuit, Sursok, Isingwa, and Minikwalis. A very nice QRS sheet here. It's done on a cardstock. It's glossy. Very, very pretty. Very nice. One side of it is in German and the other side is in English. I wonder if that varies in different countries. This is a map of where the Inuit were and the Inuit locations and names for the various places. It's called Where We Live and Travel. As I think I mentioned earlier, this was done in aid of the Inuit Heritage Trust, or with, alongside of them, in support of. So there's a lot of mention of the native peoples of the area. Now these are 2 bonuses I got for doing the Kickstarter. They are metal tokens, replacing 2 of the tokens that should be inside there that we should come across later. One of them is a ship's wheel. The ship's wheel is used to represent who has the admiralty or is in command of the fleet for a given turn. And the other is a coin. I have no idea what that does, if anything. There's a number of these different tiles, which are different playing pieces for the game. These ones are ship upgrade cards. They're things that you can purchase to improve the individual ships. I'm not entirely sure what these other ones are. Sorry about that. Why don't we look at the book? Looks like they're part of the setup of the action boards. We'll get to those in a moment. These are more ship cards, and these are tokens for navigation. One of the goals is to navigate as many of the spots as you can and to have done more of those than your opponent. This is the action board. Action board is what I was just describing a second ago. The action board is where you keep track of your health, resources you have. This is, after all, a resource expending game. So all your tracking of your individual ship, your captain, your player, is done on one of these cards. There should be 4 of them in here. They're color-coded by the pocket flap that's on each one of them. So there's white, blue, pink. There seems to be 2 of them. One of them is done in a dark blue and one is done in a light blue. So I suspect that means something. Individual sled boards? They seem to be calling them okay. The light one is a sled board. An expedition leader has decided to abandon their ship, and Leia transitions between her shipboard and her sled board. So there is now, this is one of the expansion pieces, and it allows for a sled board for traveling without your boat. These are the actual map board. And when you start with just one piece showing. So this is Baffin Bay. It's the easternmost part of Canada. But these go together, and there's some different choices on some of them. But they go together to set up your route. So you start here on this green square with the sail here. And then whoever's captain that first turn decides which anchorage he's going to. And so you're moving along forward, and which anchorages you go to determine how long it's going to take, how long the route may last, what sort of things you're going to come along the way as you're traveling through it. And as I said, this is reversible. The situation can vary and change based on which side of that is actually facing up. There's a handful of these. There's also a number of trackers that are connected to it. This takes up a bit of space when you play it, set it all up. There's a lot of meeples that keep track of the different things in the game, and I discussed some of those already. We mentioned, for instance, these are wood. That's the ship's wheel that came with the game, the regular ship's wheel. Meeples that represent your officers. There's various types of officers that each ship has. This big one represents the fleet itself. That keeps track where on the map the fleet is at any given time. So the ships are all traveling together. Meeples are pretty nice. They're printed with little images. There's various officers, there's the generic sailors, and there's the Inuit. And I think I mentioned earlier, this is basically a resource management game. You're controlling how you use your people's labor. Most of this stuff is color-coded. There's different colors for each of the primary teams. There's also, some lumber and supply, which are color-coded all the same color. There's dogs. You have to keep track of the sled dogs that you have available. The way the game works, as I understand it, this is going to be very rough and probably filled with some mistakes because haven't ever played. Dynamite is necessary because you have to use a dynamite to burst the ice to allow you to continue westward. In fact, if at any point there's no dynamite remaining amongst the party, you've lost the game. Whoever has the most amount of dynamite is the first leader and decides which route you're going to go. He's going to decide whether you're going coastal or by sea, and that's going to affect what cards get pulled. Some of the cards are for various species that you discover. They tell you what their value is. They also give you food value because you can use them to feed yourself. That's an interesting aspect of the game, is it's a combination of discovering new animals and killing and eating them. There are cartography cards. These are cards that show 3 territories to be charted. The map is composed of named territories, Baffin, Kent, P, etc. Each territory has at least 1 anchor point. At the end of the game, for each territory indicated, the card that has been charted by any player, the player holding that card scores 5 prestige points. Those are these purple cards that have the compasses on the back of them. And so they show you the information you need on the front side, I guess. This would be the prestige you get at the end of the game, so 5 prestige if you have this card, and it must be these areas here is my guess. Event cards, this is what I was describing earlier. There's 2 types of event cards for sailing. Are the cabotage sailing, that's when you're sailing along in the ice and the shore, and the reverse of those is red. That's actually being on the ice. And offshore sailing, the front side with the event on a notebook, and that's reverse side is green and shows oceans. So the difference between these decks, an example, this one shows a building, shows that you get some lumber, but these will set up various events that happen on each turn. You'll notice the cards are all, I'm gonna have to learn what the markers mean, but there's no English on them. It's a clever way of doing an international game. You can do the rule books come, separate, and most of these cards are gonna be, or many of these cards are pretty non-language specific. But unfortunately, right now, I can't fully explain it, but you can look at the artwork on these cards. I mean, you can see the frost coming out of his mouth. It's really giving you a lot of the feel of what that game is about. This one looks like it's costing fuel, but this is stuff happening close to the water or the shore on ice, whereas the other ones are typically like an aurora borealis. Apparently, you get extra dynamite if you see the aurora borealis. So those are part of how the game works against you, or through those event cards. The investor cards, as I understand it, are used before the game begins. These are marked by a hand with money bags on it. And the investor cards basically, like this is Felix Booth, London sheriff and businessman. So you get to start with some extra lumber, extra dynamite, That must be food or something. And after the game, if I'm reading this right, let's see, there's a fist plus a skull equals 0. And then that's, if you meet whatever those things mean, you're going to get 4 post-game prestige. You get during game prestige and some prestige you just get at the end of the game when you achieved goals. I wish I could be clearer on this. This isn't supposed to be a how to play, it's what's coming in the game. So I mentioned the ship tiles, the ship upgrades, these cards on the back here. These are various benefits and things you can purchase as an upgrade to the game. The hunt cards, these are for actually hunting. If you send soldiers out to hunt, these are what they find. So I think that is not a ship. I think that's a cooking pan. It's affecting your food and your health. That's an addition if you have them. And this is probably takes 2 guns to shoot it or something. I don't know, and how many people. These cards themselves are actual ships. So on the inside, it'll actually tell you the name of a ship and give you some of the information and starting materials that it has. So apparently our ships aren't all identical. These are who we are, the actual explorers that we represent. Perry, Ross, Franklin, McClure, Belcher, Keller, Collinson, McClintock, Beck, Amundsen. Beautiful, beautiful looking game. Hard to simply explain, hard to follow without having read the rules. Mentioned earlier, I don't generally do board games on here. I can if there's an interest. I don't know how many of you play board games or if you all just do miniatures games. I primarily do miniatures over board games, but I also am a big fan of Spartacus and Firefly. I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or if you played this game or have any opinions on whether I should be even talking about board games on my page or not, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you have ideas for further content you'd like to see me produce here on Cry Havoc Wargaming, I look at the comment section for that as well. If you've enjoyed the video, I hope you'll hit like, and if you'd like to receive further notifications for videos like this one that may help you determine how to better spend your money or time in your tabletop hobby, then I hope you'll hit subscribe and ring our notification bell. Till next time, cheers.